Namaste and welcome to Urban Chatterati. This is Abhinav Prakash. And today I'm joined by Shakti Sinha ji once again to discuss the question of bureaucracy, IAS, and do we need reform in the IAS. Shakti sir has served as a bureaucrat in various responsibility positions, including the Prime Minister office under the Prime Minister Vajpayee. So welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you very much, Ahana. Always a pleasure to talk to you.
Thank you, sir. So, sir, we recently saw the incidents in Chhattisgarh and also in Tripura, where IS officers were assaulting a citizen, behaving in a very, let's say, a feudal manner. Why do you think that we keep seeing these incidents again and again?
In fact, it's very disturbing. I'm glad you pointed it out. It's very, very disturbing. As somebody who's been in the civil services from 79 onwards, I mean, it's to me unforgivable. Actually, earlier we didn't see, we had found other things, not these things. One, of course, is that the bureaucracy, not just the IAS, has grown very large. And the job it does is very, very complex. So it becomes such a big animal, it's difficult to control in that sense. So it has also become anonymous. So if you do good work, you're not noticed. Also, a lot of politicization has come in. Local pressures are there. Local politicians rightly want to have a role to play. They have their favorites at times. So the hierarchies are breaking down and not being replaced by anything else. Now, hierarchy normally is not a good word, but in a system which is supposedly a bureaucratic top-down system, there was some merit to hierarchy. That has broken down. So and also the homogeneity of the earlier services. The civil services, 60s, 70s, urban elite. You could name 10 colleges in India where they came from, common background. There is sort of an esprit de corps. Not that they were very great people. It is just that it was very genteel, tremendous amounts of nepotism, obviously, tremendous amount, but hidden behind sophisticated social behavior. That is changed now completely. That's a very diverse group of people. Earlier I joined at 20 or 22. Now people are joining at 26, 28, 30. They've come with experience of the world. They come bitter. They have come cynical also, many of them. And they see opportunities for growth through unorthodox means. If I do good work, nobody notices. But if I do something which catches attention, this is the mauka. So, if you see I saw the Tripura video very carefully more than once. He comes, he behaves in a very bad, loudmouth manner. Okay, they're breaking the law. There are ways to deal with breaking the law. You want to arrest them? Please arrest them. But the district magistrate job is not to go and catch people by the collar, pull them. The policeman is not willing to arrest. He catches the policeman by the shoulder and pushes him to go forward. Calls the cameraman, photo khicho, camera khicho, loko pata hona chahiye. So, you want to tell the world, listen, I am doing it. So that kind of this thing, it's absolutely not done. It's absolute, but they feel that this is the way to get attention. This is the way I show my message. Okay, I am Macho Man around town. I am the man. Identifying himself. I am so-and-so, district magistrate, West Tripura district. Aapko pata bhi chal jaye kaun bol raha hai, So that kind of thing, it comes from that breakdown of norms, not replaced by a new norm. In a large, complex, anonymous world, which is cynical and subject to pulls and pressures. So, you're not answerable to your boss. There's no accountability. It's so large. A bridge falls down, 20 people die. Find me one person accountable. None. It's all dispersed. When accountability is dispersed, you're bound to get situations like this, where people take law into their own hands, will go beyond law and start acting in this manner. I think that is the only way I can explain this. So there was corruption in the past, lots of it, but this magnitude and the character has changed considerably.
In fact, we see lots of district magistrates and senior officers, IPS officers as well, have a dedicated YouTube channel to them in which they go and make raids, suspend people on camera. Do you think that this social media is also playing a factor, forcing these people to play to the gallery?
Yeah. Earlier, nobody knew anybody's names. The media never carried officers' names. At best, some designation was put. Nobody knew. Now people know names. I'm shocked that people use it. Social media is meant for social purposes, not to project your personality in the public. Hire a PR agency, but then get out of government. Become a politician, please do that. Civil servant job has to be largely anonymous. You're a cog in the wheel. You're serving a purpose. You're not here for self-motivation or that. So this combination of cynicism and self-promotion makes people do all kind of unorthodox things. Even people who do good work, make sure that others come to know about it. Earlier, your good work went unreported. Now you feel, yeah, if it is not reported, फायदा क्या मिला मुझे? So you do this self-aggrandizement, self-promotion, which again, as I said, it breaks down the system. Because accountability then filters away. Okay, fine, you're doing a great job. Do it yourself. I'm not with you. Back to the thing. No? So it's bad in terms of efficiency of the system. It's bad for morale for the others also.
But in both the cases, we have seen that no real punishment was given to those officers.
No. In fact,
why is that?
Just no. Before you can even ask the question, sorry, train of thought. I mean, this gentleman says, if I've hurt somebody, then I'm prepared to apologize. And just see the impunity. I'm prepared to. If I've hurt my catching a man by the collar and pushing him, woman comes to interview to tell her, I'll have you arrested also. And then to say, if I've hurt somebody, I mean, this is it. Why is no punishment? That is the question, right? It's because everybody has skeletons in the cupboard. One. Two, we have created, some checks were required to prevent officers getting harassed. Civil servants, not just officers, civil servants getting harassed, bullied, you should prevent that, fine. But we have built so many of safeguards now that it's physically impossible to take action against somebody. You try somebody openly, you do catch it, and yet by the time the process is through, 15, 20 years have passed, fellow may have retired by then, got his her promotions. So, we have created a system with absolutely no accountability and where you therefore can't take action. I mean, people have been caught stealing in shops in London, pleaded in the courts, yes, I was guilty, and yet our system says, okay, yeah, that, So I think this cynicism, anonymity, and lack of hard work. We just lack, it requires tremendous amount of hard work to start punishing people. Why bother? That is the kind of cynical attitude. It is really sad.
Yes. But many people are asking these days, do we actually need IAS now? What purpose does it serve in 21st century? So how do you justify its continued existence?
Very good point. Very good point. I asked myself that question. I mean, not because I'm no more in the IAS, I quit it in 2013, not because of that. One, it has its positive elements, tremendous positive elements. The structure of the civil services, especially the all-India services, then the IAS and the IPS, is very clear that this is a shared service between the states and the union. That people will be allotted to state cadres. They will spend 2/3 of their time in their states, 1/3 in the center. From the state, they'll bring field experience to the center. From the center, they take back policy experience. The unsaid norm also was that we need to create a united India with certain common norms of administration, common norms of things which have national unity, whether it's population control those days, growth in agriculture. So you needed some kind of a common theme running, and this was seen as that theme. So it made a lot of sense. To that extent, it still makes sense because people go for training together 3-4 times in their career, jointly with others. They have come to Delhi, work differently, and they come with a state perspective, a Tamil Nadu perspective. It's very different from Gujarat perspective, very different from Tripura perspective. So you need all of them in government of India. So to that extent, it makes a lot of sense to me. Where it does not make sense is, and this the Prime Minister has said, but I don't think the thing has been done. Why should IAS officers be in the race for doing all kinds of jobs? Times have changed now, but just because you got through a very important examination, a meritocratic examination to be fair, fairly good training at the beginning to cope up with the first 4-5 years service. So on second thoughts, maybe not so good anymore when you see this incidents happening in Chhattisgarh and Tripura. But but the kinds of jobs that we do now, the kind of complexity is required. You require domain expertise. You require merit at every level. One examination where I'm very good in history and English honors and I get into civil service doesn't mean I'm capable of doing all kinds of jobs. So I think the need to fit in the right people at the right place. So you must open up competition within the services and allowing outsiders. So you don't get promotion. You fight to get appointed each time. So you're not selected once in your career and that's it for 36 years. You're selected 4 or 5 times in your career. So that pressure to perform must be brought in. And the fact that you can do any job under the sun, I think those days should be now firmly closed. I don't think so it makes sense to have a generalist cadre doing so much kinds of work. To me, it's simply not on in this day and age.
But sir, do we need some reform in the UPSC selection process? Because as of now, the way we first of all, we are selecting diplomats, police officer, everyone through the same examination. Makes no sense to me. Second point is that people are taking Urdu, Mathil, Pali, and some random subject and getting good marks. And we know biases work in such papers because there's a limited number of people who are giving the exam and limited number of people
who are correcting the papers.
Also, in the case of interview, I mean, how can you select people by asking some random questions in a 20-30 minutes interview?
Yeah.
Shouldn't that be a reformed process, much more
Yes.
elaborate?
Yes, exactly. That's why I mentioned that, just going to do a history honors doesn't make a good administrator, So the fact is this selection process is meritocratic, yes. Does it suit the job content? No. I think that is a point you're making, a very valid point you're making. You must do your selection, therefore, keeping in mind the need. So where you could have some exams, fine, but you're right. Many people choose, I'll use the word minor very hesitatingly, minor subjects which are not well taught or not well known. There are 5 examiners in the country who check the paper. So, and they will tell, sorry, this man's taken my subject. Let me give him 180 or 200, So it does distort the system. And interviews simply, you need what the defense does. You go for these 2-3 days of battery of psychological tests. As an example, test a person on different parameters again and again from different dimensions, not a completely 360-degree view of that person you get. Then you should be able to say, yes, this person can make a decent administrator. Fine, we can go ahead. Or this person we can leave towards the police or whatever it is. And again, as I said, one selection is not good enough. As you go up the ladder, the skill set required to be a senior officer at a policy making level is very different from the skill set required at the implementation level. The best of implementers make the worst of policy because they are seeing things with a very narrow vision. Sometimes the best of poly person also fails. But the fact remains that he or she has a better chance of success if they have understanding of the subject at a higher level, in addition to understanding how to operate at the field level. So I think selection processes starting definitely will change. But as I said, up the ladder. If you want to reform the system, you'll have to reform it very, very substantially.
But do you think we need to have separate examination for different services?
To many extents, yes. Forest has a separate examination, true. Science and this thing only, that makes sense. But I really think that at a certain level, we would need to move out of this common civil services. And I teach a paper on public policy, and I was just through the list of civil services. It's a staggering amount. People think the IAS. No, IAS is a small part of it. In the higher bureaucracy, the IAS is only 1/3. The staggering number of services we have created, I think the time has come. Railways has started the process of consolidating it. And therefore, when you get the job content right, then your selection process should suit the job content and not the other way around. You're getting jobs on the basis of your marks in examination, which have nothing to do with your capabilities in that job in question, or even your potentiality in the job in question. So I think a need to come to relook at the entry levels to make sure that the people you are selecting are suited for that, have the skill set and the capabilities, and where necessary, technical subjects, you need domain expertise. A good tax person should know accounting very well, as an example, or the accounting laws very well, and not that you teach me afterwards. Maybe I learn, maybe I don't learn. It's too late if I don't learn, Mm-hmm. So that is the kind of changes, I think, at selection level. But I would have go beyond that. I would actually look at the way government is organized to implement. That, I think, is a serious issue, which is what brings in these distortions where people think that they are law unto themselves,
Mm-hmm. Well, you're right, because I have seen people having no aptitude getting Indian foreign services. I have seen people getting police service and then crying about it. I can't do this job. So we have this very random allocation of services to the people. Perhaps we can start it because I think it's easier to do. But when we talk about the bureaucracy, it's easy to blame the bureaucrats. That this DM is behaving in this manner, this person is. But do you think that the responsibilities they have now is just too much for them to handle? If you are a DM of a district, I mean, you are almost a member of every committee. You are heading every committee. You can't give 5 minutes to anything.
No.
So do you think that we need to cut down the powers of the IAS, cut down the roles and responsibilities, and make it much more focused?
Yeah, absolutely. Earlier it was possible, simpler times. Government was very smaller. Our budgets were very small, even by those times. As a percentage of GDP, it was much, much lower there. The complexity of the job you did was very low. Today, the complexities have gone up so many times by a magnitude of 5, 6, 10 times that obviously the same person cannot both be doing rural development and checking on school enrollment and health and make sure that the police are behaving properly and looking at the VIP visits and doing disaster management. Oh, floods are going to come. Are we prepared for it or not? Oh, floods have already come. How do I equip 50,000 people? So, you have now got a complexities of job, but there is a need, that's what I said, to rethink how these accountabilities and responsibilities. One, you need clear responsibilities. Now, nowhere in all services, not just the IAS, is job defined. If I'm SP of a district, if I'm Deputy Secretary in the Ministry of Industry, right? And what is my job content? You have to identify the job content and then set targets which you can monitor, right? But if you make me looking after everything, if I have 100 priorities, I have no priority, right? And therefore, incidents happen, go out of control because you have not thought through it. You don't have the time to think through it. As DM, I must have been chairman, forget to remember. I must have been chairman of 30, 40, 50 committees at least, right? Do I really took meetings, all of them? No. Some, yes, which were important, rural development was important, etc., but not the others. So they fall off the tangent, they fall through the cracks of the table, basically. So I think there is this need to rethink government and this concept. Does the job have specific job content and specific deliverables? If there are no deliverables, if you give me 2,000 jobs, I have no deliverables, right? Somebody will do well in one sector, somebody does the next sector. There's no continuity. So it affects the IS itself, it affects the civil services. More important, it affects society. Society wants better outcomes now. Frustrations are there in people because they don't see these outcomes which they want. Aspirations must be met, not wholly, but very substantially. And for that, you definitely need to rethink responsibilities given to IAS and other officers in the hierarchy and across horizontally.
True, true. But do you think at the policy level, because suppose if a person is a district magistrate or SDM and he's very good at running the district, does not mean that he can also make policies for the big tech or the social media. So do we need to break that automatic transfer from the state to the secretary level, policy making level? And is the direct recruitment the answer to such problems?
Okay. So, that is one thing that some people thought of, which we try to do properly, is that you go through trainings 5 times in your career, not just once, right? So as you move up from implementation to state level, you do some trainings. Then you go to policy making, you do another training. Go to higher policy making, do another training. And actually, if you come to, and therefore the rotation between states and center has to be done more than once. You can't simply come and check the government of India and try to run it. It will be disaster. You should come twice or thrice, see how the secretariat works, see the policy making processes, where is institutional memory lie. You must get a feel of that. So you need the shuttling in the present arrangements. But yes, one of the tragedies, even the British commented on it, a grouping of say 4 or 5 districts makes a division, the divisional commissioner. And the British joke was the best of DMs is the worst of commissioners. But as commissioner, he acts as a super DM instead of as a commissioner to take one step back and be supervisory rather than doing it himself. Those days to all be himself, no herself those days. Similarly, with policy level, if I'm a very good implementer, there are chances that I'm a disaster at policy. And therefore, the need to work at policy, not at the top to begin with. It's a very expensive learning curve then, to begin at different levels of policy making. So you grow with the job. You basically develop domain expertise, understand institutional memory, what has happened in the past, why these things have failed, what has succeeded where. Policy making has to draw upon many streams, and the ability to be moved with the times and not to be stuck. When I was a DM in Chandauli, I did this. Fine. You did a great job at DM Chandauli. You probably disaster sector rural development UP, So that is the kind of focused career growth that is really required, and not this random movement from agriculture to industry to defense. true commerce. There's no link. There is no domain link. So you don't develop domain expertise, you're in serious trouble.
So my last question to you, sir, would be about the interaction of the bureaucrats with the politics. Do you think that the bureaucrats are also to be blamed for surrendering a bit too much in the fronts of the politicians? The latest case is of the chief secretary of Bengal. And that has basically weakened the bureaucracy because politicians also know, I mean, you can't do anything because you are dependent on them. So they push you around the way they want.
Yeah, regrettably, a lot of bureaucrats are happy to catch politicians bypassing their seniors in the system to get a good posting, or what is called in many states. Delhi actually calls it a wet posting and a dry posting. Wet posting can make money, dry posting you can't make money. So you catch all your political bosses to get a good posting. It's at a price. No politician is going to oblige you for charity. There's a price to be paid. And that price to be paid comes by surrendering your autonomy of action, your independence of mind, right? And therefore, the system, the internal discipline. See, external hierarchy is one thing. You are governed by your internal discipline of work ethic. That breaks down. And therefore, you start doing the wrong things. You know what is being suggested is wrong. Not only don't I go ahead and do it, but at that time, I don't even point out, sir, madam, this is not how it is done. There are certain steps to be followed. We must follow those steps. You are not prepared. You are happy to go along because you see in it personal benefit, personal aggrandizement, rather than what is really good for the job. So that is where those surrenders, which has happened, it started early on. It started in the 50s itself, but it didn't take on rampant. I think when political contestation became a big issue, and with the growth of parties very locally rooted, and therefore the pressure to deliver locally became very strong. See, pressure is good, but then you look for shortcuts. You don't look for reasoning. You want something to be done unscrupulously. And that is where I think you are right. Officers have surrendered their autonomy very, very often. Not all of them. Some of them do suffer because of that. That's it. But the moment you're not prepared to suffer, if everybody is prepared to suffer, nobody will suffer. It's only when some say, I don't want to suffer, I want a good posting instead, that the others get penalized and the favorites get moved on, which leads to a breakdown of the system.
But yeah, we certainly need to do lots of reforms in the bureaucracy. I agree that we need an all India service, but we need to restructure it thoroughly to make it, let's say, more useful in the 21st century in the change.
Relevant. Look at the context, today's context. It must be relevant in today's context.
Yes, exactly, sir. But hopefully you're also writing something on it, because given your experience of more than 3 decades in bureaucracy, it will be a great thing to read something from you on this aspect as well, because many bureaucrats are only doing social media these days. So they're writing many books even while they're serving. But you being an older generation bureaucrat, we would love to read something on the topic from you. But thanks a lot for coming, sir.
Thank you for the idea, and thanks for having me on the show.
Thank you. And thank you, audience, for listening to us. Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel and also join as a member to support the channel. Thank you. See you soon.